welcome to Petrolheads London, and from a very different backdrop from the one in which you're used to if you watch my regular 5 at 5. So if you've not watched this before, my name is Tom and this is my YouTube channel Petrolheads London, and this is where I bring you on a weekly basis at 5 PM for 5 minutes every Wednesday some updates around motorbike, car news, and maybe some stuff around my videos and stuff to come, and also now answering some of your questions from the guys who are following me. So if you also watch this on a weekly basis, what you will know is the first person to comment will also get a shout out on this week's video, or next week's if you comment on this one. So a very cheeky comment from Mr. Peter, aka Petrolheads. So if you haven't already, please check out his channel. Pete's a good friend of mine, and he has some great stuff on his channel. So thank you for getting a second cheeky mention, because you got a mention on last week's video as well. But anyway, as I said, please remember to go and check out his channel if you haven't already. There you go, free plug, Peter. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, as you can tell, I'm not really in England, and on the way here, I'm in France. I saw all of the cars piling off the ferry from the classic 24-hour Le Mans. So if you've not looked at this before, obviously you have the 24-hour Le Mans, and then after that you have the classic Le Mans. Now, I'm still trying to find out a bit more detail about this, but what I understand is in order to compete in the Le Mans, it has to be a car that has competed in classic Le Mans that has competed in Le Mans, but I think it doesn't have to be the exact car. I think as long as it is of the type and style of the ones that have competed before. But it is amazing to see some of these classics being actually used for what they were designed to do, which is be driven round a racetrack, basically. On the way here, I saw about 5 in a row beautiful E-types, Ferrari GTO, several Ford GTs. I mean, brilliant lineup of cars. So unfortunately it was a bit dark, so I wasn't able to get any shots of that, but definitely one to look out for and stuff around the classic Le Mans. So on motorbike news, now some quite sad news this week. So William Dunlop, who comes from the kind of motorcycling dynasty of the Dunlop family, sadly passed away after a critical motorcycle accident at the Skerries 100 this week. I mean, an absolute devastating piece of news for the motorcycle community, and loss of not only what everybody seems to be saying, an absolutely fantastic guy, but also a phenomenal motorcycle racer and a legend of the Isle of Man TT, following on from his father, who passed away in 2008, also in a motorcycle race. So yeah, thoughts obviously with his family and everyone there. So terrible news in the biking community. So it brings me on to British Grand Prix last weekend. Wow, what a messy start that was, which really kind of scuppered Hamilton's plans. There was a lot of contact and a lot of people put out the race in that first corner. So yeah, it wasn't quite the kind of British Grand Prix success he had hoped for, and those who support him would also like him to have done. So yeah, real messy start, so a bit of a shame there. There was also the introduction of the new DRS zone, and I'm not fully up to speed on this, so also please, comment below if you know a little bit more about it. But I think that's definitely played advantage to, I think it was Ferrari in this particular instance. But anyway, keen to see how that plays out and kind of changes the dynamics of the race. Then finally, I asked last week if you've got any questions you wanted me to answer. So remember, for next week, if you've got any questions, please put those down in the comments below, and I will try and answer them in next week's video. I'm keen to try and make this a regular cycle, so please keep asking questions, obviously within reason, that I can answer. So that brings me to the question I'm going to answer this week, which is from Edward Van, who I know you've commented on quite a lot of my stuff in the past, so thank you for that. You asked me about any police encounters. I think you meant in cars, hopefully. You referred to like noise or speeding. Obviously, I only ever go at the speed on private roads, Edward. But I think noise is quite an interesting one, and I think just to kind of you asking generally, for me, one of the ones is around tinted visors. So I'll talk about that in a second. Noise and misbehaving and stuff like that, I mean, I generally don't do that. I think I've got relatively loud exhaust on my bike. I've never had problems with those in the past. I remember asking a policeman once about tinted visors, because technically you're only supposed to have about 30 or 40% tint maximum, and he said to me, if you're wheeling past me with an exhaust that's shaking the windows and a number plate the size of a postage stamp, I will probably stop you and have a word with you about many of those things. However, I think that if you're a relatively sensible rider, driver, whichever vehicle you're in, and I think don't push your luck, I think you know, they're reasonable people and do a good job most of the time. So for me, no, I've never had any of those things kind of brought up before. I think they tend to focus around some of the bike meets and stuff where there are lots of misbehaving. I actually noticed they brought in average speed cameras round past Box Hill, which is a legendary meet-up for motorbikes, and I remember from my teenage years there being a lot of misbehaving, obviously not by me. So Edward, thank you for your question. Please remember, if you've got any other questions, to pop them below. Remember, if you are the first to comment, you will get a shout out on next week's video. Thank you for watching Petrolheads London and my weekly 5 at 5. Take care. Cheers.